Hello everyone, I am back again with another video. I am showing you a face again today because I like creating faces, you know that. So choosing a few colors to paint with. Later I will show you which colors they are. And I was inspired by the flowers that you just saw. I was coloring them. I chose a few colors from a color palette on Pinterest and I colored with it, and I thought, okay, I'm going to use the same colors on my spread today. So starting out by choosing a page in my little journal, and I am putting down some acrylic paint. When I go on holiday, then I will take with me a few items, including a bit of white and black acrylic paint that I put in these little jars. And I had some left over from my last holiday. Here I am choosing a stencil, and I'm putting some gel medium through the stencil. I am working on my editing skills, and I tried to put down some text where I show you what I use in case I forget to say it. Just putting some down. I don't press that hard. I just use a little makeup sponge and I press the gel medium through the stencil lightly here and there, maybe 3 places on my spread. So here are the colors that I'm using today. This is a sienna, a burnt sienna, and I'm using a pink and a darker brown, and that Naples color, that Naples yellow, I think Naples yellow green it is. And I'm using that to mix the colors and get a lighter shade. Well, it's not lighter, it's kind of like a pastel shade. I sprayed some water on my palette so I can water down the colors to be able to spread it a bit better on my background. So I'm just mixing up the colors. You can see that almost every color I mixed with that Naples yellow. Otherwise the colors will be too bright, and you'll see later I'm going to use the brighter or the shade, the colors without the mixing later on. But I'm keeping the background quite easy and simple. So putting down just a little bit more of that same Naples yellow, as you can see. Now I didn't know what to do, but I thought that I would do the face on this side, and I am pointing out that the space in between the eyes is not an eye's length, but I don't care. If I keep in mind that my other features on my face are quite a little bit symmetrical, then no one will notice. And anyway, it's just a fantasy figure that I like to draw. A small tiny nose, because the space between her eyes is small also, so I adjust the nose to that size. And then I do the same with the mouth. So I try to measure them. The corners of my mouth are aligned with the pupils of her eyes. So in this case, if you look at like this, it doesn't even look weird that she has a small space between her eyes. Now I used, oh, I forgot to write it down. This was a charcoal block from Kohinoor that I used in a sepia color. I'm experimenting with that as well, and you can see it does water down quite easy. And I'm just going around the lines that I made, not very delicate, just go over it and you'll see where it ends up. Now I'm using the yellow color that I chose, and this is going to be my first layer on her face. You'll see, you can count if you like. I think I put about 10 layers on this face in total. So I start out with a light one, using the Naples yellow to lighten it up even more. And then I go in with a darker color around the eyes, kind of like where the shading needs to go. Around the eyes, at the side of the nose, and then it starts to look even more like a creepy lady. Big bold eyebrows, that will change in the end, but anyway, I needed to put down some color quick. And you can see I used a few colors on her already. Those are only the colors that I showed you, and just lighten them up by using the Naples yellow. And I do the same. You can see I thought it was way too dark, so I tone it down again with a lighter shade. And that's what I do the whole time. And then I leave it for a while. I put some paint down with my fingers to make it, to smear it. How do you call that? I don't know. But just to move it around and not to be that neat. I don't want a neat looking page. Now, brown hair, of course, why not? And then I go in with a lighter color again. That's the Naples again. And just toning it down and highlighting some areas on her forehead, her nose, cheekbones, and I do that with a baby wipe. Just wipe down excess paint that I don't like, and as I did on my first face, I just wipe it down quite firmly. And then I use the Stabilo All Black to go around her eyes, nose, and then my water brush to water it down again, just to move it around. You can see very bold black lines, but that'll change in the end, of course, as it always does. Well, not always, that's a lie. Around the mouth, and I am trying to get a little bit of movement in her mouth by making it a bit round, sculpting the lips just a little bit, and then like I do here, just a little bit more black in the middle and a bit shading, and I darken up the top, the upper lip. That's how I go around the mouth several times. Now you can see that I quit playing around and I thought, okay, I need to do something else, so I wanted to bring back or bring in the pink, because there is no pink on her face just yet. So I'm just brightening up the background to make her stand out a little bit more, and I'm using my fingers because that's the best tool I've got. And then bringing in a little bit of that yellow to create a little bit of orange, but it matches the brown color, so I leave it like that. And then I go in with white acrylic. That's white acrylic from Winsor & Newton. I'm sorry for the blob. From Winsor & Newton, and I go around her eyes. I'm showing you this one because you can see that I am reshaping her iris, and then I go in with that light sienna color, or is it a raw umber, I think, well, one of the colors. And oh, I've got it here. It is a raw umber, as I said, and then use the Naples yellow green, that's what it's called, 282. That's what I use to lighten up all the colors instead of white. Alright, go in with another layer, again a darker one underneath her eyes to bring back the shading, using a brush now and then. Here and there I use my fingers, as you can see, to spread it around. Make it look a little bit sketchy. Her eyes do need more definition, but I will get to that later. And just going around and putting some paint down here and there. And here I start to scribble and fiddle, and I thought, okay, don't do it anymore, just leave it. So I did something else, and I came back to it later, a few hours later, to start over again, because once you start fiddling, then you might ruin it all. So now bringing back the pink in her face, you can see I just did tone down that pink that was on the background in the corner by going over it with a baby wipe, and just putting down some paint, rub it with your fingers, do the same. And then I thought, well, her forehead is quite plain, and underneath there is a lot of color, so I was thinking or struggling on what to do with that, leaving it on just doing something about it. So I changed my focus, and I thought, okay, I need to do something interesting. So I found a napkin from Jane Davenport lying on my desk, and I'm just putting that down on her face. I pulled one layer of the napkin to get a very thin sheer layer of that lady, using the Liquitex gel medium. And I find that I need to put a lot of gel medium on the back of my napkin, because otherwise it will stay kind of like a little bit of white, as you can see around her head. It doesn't blend that well with the background. So after putting that down, I colored her dress with the white Stabilo All. I have no idea why I put that lady down there, but I just saw it lying around and I wanted to do something else, so that's why she's there. There's no ulterior motive or something. So here I'm using the Jane Davenport mermaid pen. Don't know if it's called that way, but I think it has something to do with mermaids, looking at the scales on the pen, but I couldn't find it, so that's why I don't have the details, or I might say it wrong. I'm using this brush pen instead of a pencil or something, because it has a very fine tip, and if I use it quite loosely, then I can create these, well, dark black lines. It is not water soluble, so it doesn't go anywhere if I decide to put more paint on. Now I'm going in with the white Stabilo All again to put in some more highlights. Put some highlights in her eyes as well with the Posca pen, and I'm doing it around her nose, on her lips, and between her nose and her mouth. And then I wanted to color the dress even more, and that's what I'm doing. And then I'm almost done with it. You see, I left the forehead as it was, decided that to prevent me from fiddling too much and ruin it all. So putting down a saying again from Art by Berlin, and I like that. So rather a little nobody than an evil somebody, and I think that's a very good quote to end this video with. Of course, some black lines around the words, and then we are almost done. So I hope you liked this video, and I will see you next week. Thank you all for watching again. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.